Thank you. And joining us now with reaction to the latest in the developing Uranium One scandal is the author of Clinton Cash, Peter Schweizer. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. This is a fascinating story, Peter, and no one better to have on it than you. How does this new information fit into the larger Uranium One scandal?
Well, that's a great question, Kimberly. Yeah, it's very interesting. The Department of Justice is now asking for all the material the FBI has on Uranium One. It's important to point out, Kimberly, that this is an incomplete file. The Uranium One investigation was launched by the FBI in the summer of 2015. They asked in late 2016 for the Obama Department of Justice to grant them subpoena powers. That was turned down. That was reported on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. So what they're getting is essentially what the FBI was able to do without these very powerful tools. I think it's a great sign that the DOJ has requested this information, but we have to keep in mind that it's not a complete file, and hopefully they're not going to, base a decision on an independent counsel based on just an incomplete file, because I think a lot more investigation needs to be done.
All right. So, and what do you think in particular, about a special counsel overall when they get more information in? What's the likelihood there?
I hope that there's going to be more information found. Look, I mean, there's some basic facts in the reporting. The NBC News story, which I think was quite good, got some fundamental facts wrong that keep being repeated by Democrats and by some media outlets. Number one, the statement that no uranium from Uranium One has been exported out of the United States. That's a falsehood. That's a lie. The New York Times in 2015 confirmed that yellow cake was being exported by Uranium One out of the country. John Solomon of The Hill reported the same thing, citing Nuclear Regulatory Commission documents. So this information needs to be sifted, and you need to have subpoena power to look at Clinton Foundation financial records, look at travel records, and to start piecing together exactly what happened. And I think once you get to that point, you can say we need an independent counsel, or we need to have some other means of investigating this.
Okay, and then why do you think that AG Sessions, decided to reopen the investigation now? I'm just curious as to the exact timing.
Well, I think that's a very good point. I think part of it is there's been a lot of activity on Capitol Hill about Uranium One, and the Department of Justice, which is supposed to be investigating corruption, is a little bit behind the eight ball on this. You've got the Senate Judiciary Committee, you've got the House Oversight Committee, you've got the House Intelligence Committee, who are all investigating Uranium One, and the Department of Justice is behind. So I think part of this is they're feeling pressure from Capitol Hill.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about the testimony that's been behind closed doors, and we've been covering it closely. Hannity has on this show, but Andrew McCabe, Bruce Orr, they testified. What do you think is going on behind those closed doors, and in terms of the content, the nature and the focus, the breadth of that information?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't we love to know what that testimony was all about? I mean, look, I think this is very concerning to people. People get that people in the FBI are human beings. They have opinions. They have attitudes. But clearly, the opinions in this case of a lot of people at DOJ seem to skew in one political direction. And when you're talking about something as sensitive as an investigation of a presidential candidate in 2016, people have to know and feel that there's going to be equal weighting. And there doesn't seem to have been equal weighting. So I think we're going to hear a lot from members of Congress in that committee going forward about what the testimony was, and I think we're not done. I think we're going to expect to see more documents and more information on what precisely the FBI was doing.
Now, how long? Let's talk to me about the duration. Like in terms of, obviously trying to build a case perhaps and acquire documents, perhaps get some people, whistleblowers, to come forward with information to be able to further the investigation in the interest of justice.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, with Uranium One, you have to consider that this is a story that starts in 2005. We already have the video testimony of the Kazakh uranium minister, Mukhtar Zakashev, saying that he was shaken down by Bill Clinton and then Senator Hillary Clinton to give this uranium to this Canadian company, which then sold it to the Russians. You have that. You have the flow of money, all this money going to the Clinton Foundation and to Bill Clinton's pocket with people connected to Uranium One. So you have this expansive time period, but really you're talking about a few actors, and I think from the standpoint of investigating that, if you have the right tools, which the FBI asked the DOJ for, it would not be that hard to figure out precisely what went on, and I think that's the next step.
It's so interesting because you look at that long time frame, and how about coordination and collusion there in terms of these people working together? And I mean, this is really fascinating to me, that why wasn't this looked at, during the Obama administration or prior, and then nothing while Hillary Clinton is, running for president of the United States, but yet they want to accuse President Trump of collusion in his transition team and do a gigantic document and wire grab of them without really any evidence to support it, and they've come up with nothing there.
Well, and Kimberly, I said at the beginning of this process they should look into the Russia question, and I think they've really come up with no substantial evidence.
Right.
But consider this, that Trump dossier that had all these allegations that didn't bear out. One of the things that dossier said was the Russian sources said they had a dossier that had damning information on Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. One of the questions I would ask senior FBI officials is, well, did you ever pursue that?
Right.
I mean, you pursued this information related to Trump. Did you pursue it as it related to Hillary Clinton? And I think most people would say, if you're going to investigate one, you should investigate both. That seems to be the best standard, I think.
Well, that is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fair and impartial and do a thorough investigation, regardless of political persuasion or ideology, unless you have an invested interest in a determinative outcome. All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate it.